Hello, welcome back to Festival of Place, the Pineapples, in association with the Design Council. This is a unique event where we bring together developers, designers and placemakers from across the built environment to share their work as they vie to win a golden pineapple for place. This is the second session of the Place in Progress category, and to be considered a place in progress, the project must be partway through its development cycle with at least one phase completed. Our judges this morning will be looking for a place that thrives, contributes to urban life and encourages people to dwell, live, work, connect, learn or play. We've got 6 places shortlisted today. Each has been visited by at least one judge. In this next phase of the judging, each team will have just 10 minutes to present, followed by 10 minutes of questions from our judges. To keep it fair, I've got my eye on the stop clock and I'll be informing them when they have 1 minute left to go. Don't forget that you can use those emojis and the Q&A box if you've got any questions that you want to ask or any comments that you'd like to make. You'll be meeting the judges in just a moment, but I'd just like to introduce them quickly. We have with us here today Pete Swift, Founding Director of Planet IE. Pete has particular expertise in the fields of landscape planning, large-scale master plans and urban regeneration. Welcome, Pete. We've got Maja Naumczyk, who's Community Partnership Officer at Falkirk Council. Maja's particularly passionate about good design, research, community empowerment, public spaces, mobility and facilitating innovation. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Maja. And Phil Stallwood, who's Development Manager at CEG. Phil is an experienced development manager. He manages large-scale and complex mixed-use residential and commercial build projects throughout their complete life cycle. So some fantastic experience to draw from on our judging panel. Our next finalist to present to us here this morning is the Old Vinyl Factory, Hayes. This project transformed the derelict 17-acre ex-EMI factory site into a mixed-use neighbourhood with over 700 homes and also 550,000 square feet of offices, an innovation hub, an academy school, shops, cafes and a health centre. So welcome to our presenter, Louis, who is Louis Arron from U&I. Over to you, Louis. I shall hand over the reins.
Good morning. Thanks, Emma, and thanks everyone for hosting me this morning. As Emma said, my name's Louis. I'm a Senior Development Manager at U&I. I work in the Regen team, and I'm here to talk about the Old Vinyl Factory. I'm just going to share some slides. There's quite a bit to get through, so I'm going to go through quite a canter to hit that 10 minutes. Hopefully everyone can see my screen now. Excellent. So I'll begin. So look, I'm probably a little unusual for a developer in that I studied history at university, which has equipped me fairly well for a job at U&I where the past and heritage is so important to us in creating places with significance and character, like the Old Vinyl Factory. It's also important for this category, of course, because to know where we're going or to understand the progress that is being made, it's obviously crucial to know where we've come from. So with that in mind, I'm going to start from the beginning, talk through the rich history of the Old Vinyl Factory, its days of neglect, and then the transformation that is happening under U&I's stewardship. So the Old Vinyl Factory is the former home of the world famous recording company EMI. It was purchased by the gramophone and typewriter company, so that's the precursor to EMI, in the early 20th century, and it soon started producing gramophones and records. From 1910, the records produced in Hayes bore his Master's Voice label, so that's HMV, of course, and at its height, the site was 150 acres and supported over 14,000 jobs. It really would be difficult to overestimate its impact on Hayes. It very much made the town. So the next slide there, you can see some gramophones being assembled. And production peaked in the 1960s with the factory pressing records for the Beatles, which I think you can see there in the foreground, the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, and many more. And if you buy a first edition vinyl from eBay today, as I've done, by any of those artists, you will see Hayes embossed on the EMI badge. In the 1970s, EMI moved its record pressing operations to another site in Hayes, and many of the buildings moved over to defence electronics development and production. And as the winds of technological change swept through, EMI finally left the town in the early 1980s, and the site was sadly left to deteriorate. Now, other developers tried to resuscitate it, first in the early 2000s by turning it into a business park. They're attracted by its close proximity to major transport hubs and infrastructure. It was renamed, I think you'll agree, pretty unimaginatively, the London Gate Business Park, which again, I think you'll agree is a bit of a sad and lazy neglect of the site's former glory. I've put a red line around the site there as it was as a business park. It was a total disaster, and businesses and their staff shunned the location that they deemed to be so down at heel. Then in 2011, Cathedral Group and Development Securities, so those are the two companies that would later merge to form U&I, acquired the business park and came up with a new idea. We would create a place that would help revive the fortunes of Hayes, a proper mixed-use development a short walk away from the renovated train station, which would eventually, we're still waiting by the way, serve London's Crossrail. Here is what we inherited. So this is one of the buildings. It's the old power plant, which now houses our combined heat and power system for the site. And there's a bit of a consistent theme running through there that I'll pick up on. We've tried to retain the existing buildings as much as possible, not just because they're sort of culturally and historically relevant, but from sort of an ESG perspective, it's obviously the right thing to do. And this, believe it or not, was designed by Art Deco legends, Wallace Gilbert and Partners in the 1920s. So those are the architects of the Hoover Building fame. I think you can see it was obviously in need of some TLC when we acquired it. Now, planning policy in 2011 didn't permit residential development in the industrial end of the town, which would have scuppered our plans from day one to deliver a mixed-use neighbourhood in Hayes. So we sat down with the planners and the councillors, and we worked with them to propose changes to planning policy that would allow residential development alongside employment space that would bring those jobs back to Hayes. I think I just mentioned we were early pioneers of ESG, pledging to restore and repurpose existing buildings. Like the power plant, you can now see brightly coloured in the foreground of this picture. We undertook extensive engagement, like we do on all of our schemes, in fact, with the local community, and it was heralded as a big success. The town wasn't dead after all; it just needed support and a bit of opportunity. The community, they wanted us to create somewhere that they could be proud of again. So great architecture, placemaking, and meanwhile uses all began to help change those perceptions. We delivered a cafe. So this is it when we inherited it. This is what we turned it into with the help of Morag, Maier, who some of you may know. We delivered music sessions, a street art festival, and brought the Central Research Laboratory back to life, and I'll touch on that a bit more later. And this was our eventual master plan, over 450,000 square foot of office space, half of which we've now delivered, a bespoke sixth form academy for students specialising in music and media education, over 750 new homes for sale and rent, over 400 of those we've now delivered, a new cinema, EMI museum and recording studios, all within the site's original pressing plant, an independent climbing centre and gym, new retail and coffee shops, a new medical centre, a site-wide heating and hot water distribution in the old power station, which I showed earlier, a bespoke co-working facility, the Central Research Laboratory, and over 250,000 square foot of public realm. Now, pictures tell 1,000 words, so here are some images of what we have created. You'll remember that Wallace Gilbert and Partners wreck that I showed earlier. Well, this is it today, beautifully restored by AHMM to provide over 80,000 square foot of employment space. It's called the Record Store, which, like all the buildings at the old vinyl factory, takes its name from the music industry. The public realm is also carefully designed and influenced by the site's history too, and you can see on the right-hand side some oversized gramophones, which were specified by our master planner, design champions, and landscape designer Studio E Grey West, who ensured a consistency and aesthetic across the estate. And that bit is really important and something we'd always advocate, having a design champion like SCW. Now, I'll tell you a very quick story about the anecdote. I'm conscious I'm on the clock. So in the height of lockdown last year, long before an emerging vaccine was public knowledge, we were confidentially approached by the NHS about taking space in our building for a vaccination centre. We obviously said yes. We did them a very commercial deal on the rent. And I'm delighted to say that for the last few months, the NHS has occupied nearly 30,000 square foot of space in that building. So they can quite literally save lives. It's not every day you do something altruistic in real estate, but that, I have to say, is something that I'm genuinely proud of. So again, attractive design and a cool reception, which adds to the old vinyl factory as a workplace. On the left, I think this is a great shot of our public realm, increasingly maturing vegetation, ample bicycle parking, a playful paving that weaves between both old and new buildings. So here you have on the left the material store and the boiler house on the right, which are new build residential buildings, and then to the rear the listed Victorian power plant. I mentioned Central Research Laboratory. This is it in 2021. In the 1920s, it was the purpose-built in-house R&D department for EMI, and it was responsible for some unbelievable inventions in its heyday, so including the CAT scanner and also helping turn television into a commercial success. One of its leading engineers, a chap called Alan Blumlein, has been recognised and immortalised in our public realm, which pays homage to some of his inventions. Now, we discovered this fascinating history while trawling through the archives. I say we, this was long before my time. I actually mean our creative director, Martin Evans. But anyway, Martin and the team knew that the office building we inherited, the shipping building, which was the only completed building on site that we purchased as a business park, was seriously struggling to attract tenants. So he decided to revive the CRL, and with support from Brunel University and some grant funding, they did just that. CRL is now a manufacturing incubator for startup businesses and entrepreneurs. It helps them scale their products. It supplies specialist equipment and business expertise, and it's already had some amazing successes. It also, by the way, solved the occupancy problem in the shipping building, as Sonos, Sonos, Sky, and GoDaddy soon moved in, so they could be close to the young, cool, exciting cohort of startups.
We're nearly at
Perfect, and I'm very nearly finished. So that's Nipper the dog. Those are our gramophones that I touched on earlier, both excellent examples of exemplar, fun, relevant, and user-friendly public realm. And here's some more images of what we have delivered, including the centre, gym, cafe, and co-working space. The Nest, they do great coffee, by the way. I don't know if that's included on the scoring criteria. It's obviously the place in progress category. So the next slides show CGI. So these are what are left to come. That's the assembly building, which is being delivered by Western Homes. Large tiles wrap its facade. There's a garden at podium level, and U&I has retained all of the commercial space on the ground floor, so we can really choose what kind of occupiers we put in there, all with an independent bias. That's the Gramophone, which is being delivered by the Really Local Group. They're a purpose-driven independent cinema and media company. You'll have a bar, EMI exhibit, recording studios, and more. They've got a great place in Catford Mews. I'd really advocate anyone to go down there and visit. Cinema tickets, I think, must be the most affordable in London. And they do a lot of community programming, which is excellent stuff. That's the old final square. I'm literally on this penultimate slide here. A further 130 homes that are being delivered by the independent house builder, Joseph Homes. And finally, final slide, this is the powerhouse, the listed Victoria power station, which used to supply the energy for the vinyl press and now houses our heat and power equipment. It will become the new home for the CRL, which will rebrand as Plus X, as they have done in our development in Preston Barracks in Brighton, and have a permanent home in Hayes. It will be purpose-built, a specialist innovation facility packed full of high-end manufacturing and prototyping equipment and co-working space. It was designed by Pilbara and partners with business creation and social value at its core. and an independent study by Realworth found that a plus.
I think we're going to have to just draw to a close there, Louis. Otherwise we're not going to have enough time for questions, and you want to make sure the judges get a good chance for their questions. But I'm sure you can squeeze in some of those points in response to some of the questions. Such a full presentation, loads to take in there. I'm going to take us straight over to Phil, who I think had the opportunity to visit. Phil, take it away.
Thanks, Emma. Hi, Louis. Thanks for that presentation. I visited the scheme on a nice sunny day a couple of weeks ago, and it's a really nice scheme. I really enjoyed the visit. It's a really creative development. There's a great mix of uses, so there's a really good buzz about the place. There's some great combination of architectural styles and good quality materials. It just hangs together really well and sits, I thought, quite nicely in its environment. And part of that reason is because you've repurposed a lot of the buildings that would have already existed there. So all in all, yeah, I really enjoyed the visit. One question I had is you're kind of nearly at the end of the full development cycle now, and it's a good quality product, both in terms of hard landscaping and architecture. What is your kind of estate management strategy to kind of see the development through and following its full occupation, really, just to make sure it retains that high quality and it's all maintained and everybody's on the same page, because there's lots of different types of occupiers on the site? Yeah,
really, really good question. There are a few elements to that. We've got an on-site manager, and I think it's crucial that you've got someone on the ground there every day, with their eye on the scheme. Even mundane things, making sure it's tight, free of litter. People are unloading and parking and everything where they're supposed to. We've got a managing agent in place. We use Savills. Personally, I think managing agents can be hit or miss, but I have to say with the team that are there, they've got people on the ground, and actually I've been very impressed with them. And they don't just manage the public realm and the public parts, they actually manage individual buildings for some of the owners, because U&I no longer retains everything that's there. Typically as a company, we don't deliver out our residential. We'll get the consent and we'll sell that to a house builder who's much better at it than we are. But I'm pleased to say that actual Savills do manage some of those individual buildings. They manage the record store, for instance, the office building there. So there's definitely a consistency in approach. And once everything is finally done, then a Manco will be established, and each of the different building owners or plot owners will have a seat in that on that Manco board and a vote. So that's typically how we ensure sort of the long-term management and success of our schemes. Thank you, Louis. No problem.
Thank you very much indeed, both. We've got a few minutes left for another question. So Pete, could I invite you in? You've got your mute on. Oh, lovely.
I'll keep mine quick. You've obviously got Western Homes, who I know are a sort of regular collaborator with you, and Joseph, who are a fellow B Corp. How do you choose your partners, and do you learn from them as well as them learning from you?
Gosh, that's a really, really good question. Joseph Homes, we're attracted to them exactly as you said. That there's an obvious match in values there. They're a B Corp. We're looking at doing some work with another actually real estate B Corp on another site that we're bidding for at the moment. So yes, where there's sort of an alignment in values. Obviously, the financial offer plays a part, and it would be great if you could just work exclusively with smaller companies like Joseph Homes, but they can't always compete with the bigger firms. We have an established relationship with Western Homes and trust them and have done things together before. So absolutely, there's an element of trust there which influences the decision. It's been quite diverse, actually, in terms of the house builders that we're working with at the old vinyl factory because Press Nicholson are delivering the machine store, for instance, and we worked with Hub on the materials store and the boiler house. So it's been quite mixed rather than going to one party, but values and relationships definitely form a strong part of that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maya, we've got time, so I'm sure I said this last time, we've got time for a super quick last one, so probably no comment, but just a question if you're able.
Yeah, I guess so. It's really interesting that you've managed to repurpose all of those industrial buildings, and I'm guessing with it being a mixed-use neighbourhood in a fabric that's quite industrial is a challenge that you've faced, kind of making it feel quite homely for the future residents of that. And maybe, yeah, I'll leave it there as a question.
Yeah, so you're saying just sort of how did we use those sort of industrial buildings and keep it sort of a welcoming place?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that personally, I don't think it's a challenge, because a lot of those buildings they've been there for years. Some of the local residents will even remember them in their heyday, and it's about bringing them back, and it's that sort of sense of nostalgia and restored pride which I think creates a sense of place and home more than sort of a shiny new building ever would. And I touched on, I know I had to shoot through that presentation because there's so much to talk about, and I'm passionate about it. But it's also about engaging with those people as well, and actually taking them into the scheme, showing them the buildings, going through the archives with them, holding music days, talking to people who used to work there, and all of those things combined really engender sort of a sense of place and home, I feel.
Lovely. Thank you so much. That's a good note to draw us to a close. So much information in there, and I think that the judges got some good questions in there as well. So thanks ever so much, Louis. Really appreciate that, and such a fascinating project. It's time for us to move now on to our fourth project of this morning, and that's going to take us to Leeds, to the Climate Innovation District. Spanning both banks of the River Aire, this development is designed to reduce carbon emissions at every stage. And the district consists of family homes, apartments, retail spaces, a primary school, care home, and the Place, which is a large zero carbon office building and centre for excellence. So loads of detail to talk through. So to introduce us to the entry, please welcome Jonathan Wilson from Citu. How am I? Lovely. Well, you've got 10 minutes, so I'm going to hand over to you.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Emma. Let me just pull up my presentation. There you go. Super. So I'm hoping you can all see that. Give me a thumbs up, Emma.
We can see, yeah.
Fabulous. Fabulous. So, firstly, I think to share the excitement of being at this point in such an amazing award, and yeah, very much thank you for having us. I think where today finds us here at the Climate Innovation District in Leeds is hugely exciting, and it's really pivotal. So I'm going to share that with you all today. To start off any presentation, I think it's becoming more and more important and more significant actually around our purpose as a business, and we'll share that with you all today. The reason we exist is because we're here to tackle the biggest challenge of our generation, and the climate crisis is something that is not going away, and the Climate Innovation District has been designed from day one, and will continue to be designed to respond to that challenge and show how we can design high performance homes combined with the ability for people to make change. So combined with the housing shortage, which is also a significant problem in the UK, we're very clear that we need bold change, and it's needed now. The Climate Innovation District is is helping us deliver our purpose. How we do that is we have our own timber frame to passive house standards manufacturing facility that sits within the Climate Innovation District and proudly sits within the district itself. It's a fundamental part of telling the story around our purpose and how those people coming to join us can be part of that thriving, growing community. It would be crazy to not say that to tackle this challenge and to do it in the property and the construction and the manufacturing industries that can often be hard to change from the sort of traditional behaviours. Amazing culture within our business here at Citu is fundamental to being able to tackle that challenge. What we do and what the Climate Innovation District is living and breathing is creating sustainable mixed-use places, which I'll talk through today. A place that encourages and enables bold change. And you'll see as we talk through what we're doing here is that we're a business that has a culture that is happy to break the rules, but as long as we're making new rules and showing how things can be done to create a more sustainable future. So the Climate Innovation District, it's a 22 acre brownfield site. This sits in the heart of the Leeds South Bank, which is the south of the River Aire in Leeds, and is absolutely connected to the city centre from this photo you see in front of you today. We're talking a 12-minute walk to the train station. This is a massive opportunity, not just for Leeds, but this is an opportunity to show how you can deliver sustainable, genuinely sustainable buildings, social sustainability, and do it at scale. And we've built a model to deliver that, and we're very proud of where we've got to today with the Climate Innovation District. Just some of the key facts. We've got in the 22 acres, 6 acres of urban gardens that are all interconnected, and I'll show you that on a master plan shortly. These are the first family houses to be built in Leeds City Centre for 95 years. So, as I'm sure you can all imagine, the status quo for high-rise apartments has battled against us from day one. We've been on site now for over 3 years. We had a challenging remediation program of works. It was an old oil distillery at one point, and actually those forgotten brownfield sites within city centres is where we at Citu thrive. So having to change the infrastructure to enable walking, cyclable neighbourhoods that are completely connected to our city centre has been a huge challenge, but we're one that we've faced, and we're now starting to see the value of those assets, including quite a significant bridge from the east to west. There's 1,000 homes. We've got a zero carbon workspace that is a number of weeks off being delivered, and then we've got another 40,000 square foot of leisure office opportunities that are going to be plugged into the development at the right time and with the right activities going in there. So we'll be piecing that together as we go, and being really accommodating of those developments that are emerging that sit outside of our red line. I think collaboration with those the other developers is absolutely key in the regeneration of this area. Last but by no means least, our multi-generation building that I'll show you on the master plan shortly, which includes a 2-form entry primary school, a care facility, and apartments, all integrated into one building. We believe it's the only one that integrates the 3 into a building in the world. and we'll be building that out of our factory using our multi-skilled teams, and ensuring that we set a vision of a zero carbon school, so on and so forth, and really reimagining again this part of Leeds. And the reason I say that we're at a point where this is very exciting, because we're at a moment where we finished our first phase. We're at what we call an exciting collision point, where the community is growing. We now have 117 people. We've had 5 babies arrive on site, and we've got a number of pregnancies on site as well. So this community is doing exactly what we set out to do when we had this as a blank piece of paper 6 years ago. It's growing, it's thriving, and it's completely interlinked and colliding, as described, with wildlife. The connections are supporting change. This development was always about how we could encourage change, how we could remove the barriers that often come with new build housing, where we talk about building a box with a big 2.4 metre box that sits around it as a fence, and the most prized possession being a box with 4 wheels that sits outside your front door. We've removed those barriers. The cars, where we do have cars, are hidden. We put them underneath in a podium deck. And what that enables us to do is to deliver density that makes it financially viable within the city centre. This just gives an insight in those interconnected spaces that runs across the district, and the importance of having those spaces connecting is critical to the future regeneration. So I'll just quickly skim through this. The community, getting to know your neighbours, bringing back families into the city centre. Fabulous. And most importantly, to do that, we set up a community interest company on site that enables that community to not only to thrive, but to have ownership of their future. The place, this is the first zero carbon office in Leeds, and we're proud to call it our new headquarters, but also Leeds' Centre of Excellence for Climate Change, which, as you can see from this final shot, sits in the heart of this place, very much in progress. That's my alarm as well, so I'll wrap up now. I think this is showing how the green spaces that are already in the place, with the factory in the background and our new headquarters overlooking it, is really starting to thrive. And we're proud that this is the first presentation we've had to do without any CGIs. So on that note, I'll pass over to you, Emma.
Thank you so much. Really inspiring, as you say, growing and thriving, and lovely to hear about your community blossoming and growing alongside. I'm going to bring Pete in first. Pete, your thoughts, reactions, and a question, or 2 questions.
Thanks, Emma. Well, I'm the member of the judging panel that's been to site recently. Very recently, but I've been watching this site for a good while, particularly enthralled when the bridge went in, and yeah, there's a great deal to be. I wrote 2 words down when I went and filled my form in: humble and hairy, and I hope you take those in the manner to which they're intended. I get the feeling here that you're doing something very, very sort of, worthwhile and difficult, really, which is taking your time. And I guess I'd just like to know how much of taking your time is because you're taking your time, and how much of you taking your time is because you're creating a market.
It's a great question, and as you can imagine, something we talk about on a regular basis. We from starting the first house, which was occupied just under 2 years ago, to where we are today with 60 homes built. We have absolutely taken our time, and it's been mainly down to us as a business ensuring that what we do, we get to a level of excellence. We have many different facets, whether it's a manufacturing facility, our in-house design team, or the guys who are fitting out on site. So you can only move as quick as the slowest cog in that wheel. So where we are today is the market is supporting us in a sense that we're selling everything off plan, and by the end of 2023 across the district, obviously to enable the 1,000 homes, we'll be delivering approximately about 4 homes a week by the end of 2023. So we've purposely slowly ramped it up, because to do what we're doing, we need to be doing things to a level of excellence, or else it will fail. And we're lucky to have got to the point now where we're clear on how we need to ramp that up.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks very much, Pete. Maya, I'm going to come to you next, if I may.
Thanks, Emma. What an impressive project. It's so good to see something that it has that kind of sustainability at its heart, and really amazing that you've been able to create, this kind of single family homes, but also with a car-free landscape. I'm not sure whether I've seen something similar before. It's definitely got that kind of soft city kind of vibe to it. But I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about how the different kind of sustainability interventions that you've placed into design, how they've impacted the people that are living there already, and maybe their behaviours. If you could tell us a bit more about that.
Thank you. So I think sustainability is such a big thing, and it has so many different facets, and particularly in building and places. I think most noticeably with the district, we've removed cars as being this big object that sits as part of everyone's focus on a daily basis. And I'm lucky enough and very happy to live here myself. And so myself and Chris, who run the business, we both live here, and it's enabled us to really see firsthand people's direct change in the way in which they're transporting themselves in and around the city. We calculated the other day that within the first 114 homes, we've taken approximately 70 cars off the road through the way that we offer car parking on site. The amount of people that we speak to who are changing have had positive changes on their health and well-being as a result of living here has been significant. And then of course there is the home. Often the focus is always the home, but actually the home itself is MVHR managed, and so it's a healthier home itself. But I think the performance of the home is we've been tracking the data in use since the first people moved in, and it's performing better than the PHPP modelling at the beginning told us it would. So I think all those different, whether it's the social sustainability or it's the performance sustainability, all those things interlinked are hugely exciting, and we're actually trying to collate that at the moment into some really, it feels very complex, but the carbon calculation of what actually the outcome is in terms of carbon.
Amazing, thank you.
Thank you. So incredible to be able to have that and to be able to put that data together. That's it's really compelling, isn't it? Bill, your turn to come in and share any thoughts and a question or two for Jonathan.
Yeah, like Pete, it's been a development I've been following for a while. Obviously, you know CEG, we're quite active in Leeds, and I think it's incredible what you guys are doing. And the following on from Maier's conversation about the car-free nature, or something you covered in that conversation, does that not pose a problem in terms of the kind of the trend towards food? And obviously, if people are giving up their cars, they're getting their food delivered and everything delivered. How's that accommodated within the development? Because obviously they can't drop it outside the front door.
Yeah, certainly whilst it's in progress, we've had to change our strategy, particularly over lockdown and COVID, because we, over that period we had 100 people who weren't using their car at all and weren't travelling to a shop at all. So we've certainly learned a lot of lessons in the last 18 months. On site, there is this on-site concierge who manages the deliveries in, and we have lockers that sit up at the top, or any of the entrances into the sites. But I think we did a survey recently looking at where people were shopping and where they were shopping and where they're now shopping, and they're now shopping more locally at the market, and they're getting what they need when they need it, rather than doing the notorious big shop and filling freezers. So I think you remove your car and you find a different way of doing those day-to-day chores, which I think has been successful. And I think as a developer, we've got a responsibility to making sure that if we're going to create quite bold changes of removing the car away from some people individually, that we facilitate and offer a good alternative for those types of things. We've got some things right, and we've got some work to do on those aspects. But there hasn't been a better learning curve than the last 18 months. And thanks for your kind words, Phil.
Thanks, Jonathan. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've got a last one a sneaky one to add in. So I suppose I wanted to just kind of zoom back outwards a little bit, really. So this category is looking at, we're looking for a place that thrives, contributes to urban life, encourages people to live, work, play, and so on. I wondered really what you were most proud of the things that you've achieved so far, because that just gives us a good sense of, what rises to the top in your mind, particularly as you're a resident as well.
Yeah. I got asked this question the other day if I was proud of the place, and I had to say not yet. And I guess the reason I couldn't say that, but I can do about the first phase here, is that until you see like genuine social cohesion and the place being used as you dreamt it many years ago, you can't truly say you're proud of it. And there was a 2-year-old's birthday party happening down on the deck, where family friends had arrived only 3 or 4 weeks ago, and there was 7 different households at this 2-year-old's birthday party on the deck, not surrounded by fences. And that was a moment of being really proud, because unless people are enjoying it in that way, then it's just architecture, or it's just on the paper.
Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic example. Thank you so much. It's time to close this session now, because it's time for our second break. So thanks once again to Jonathan and to the judges for their fantastic questions as well. We've learned a lot in the last section. So as last time, feel free to go and join a table in the social lounge during the break if you want to, so that you can meet and have a chat with some of the other participants and audience members, creating those community connections. We'll be back here at noon when we'll be hearing our penultimate presentation in the Place in Progress category. So more fantastic stuff to come. So see you in a few minutes. Thanks very much.